And an interesting story going on in Parliament that we want to talk about just before we get into our big ticket interviews tonight. We all know about the conversation about Adwoa Safo's continued absence from Parliament, and how Parliament deals with it. She was not the only person who was flagged for absenting herself from the Legislative Assembly. It included Kennedy Japan, her baby father, and also other MPs. Some of these MPs have been interviewed by the Privileges Committee, and they've been extended a pardon. Now, Adwoa Safo has not appeared before the committee, never at all has she, upon, I believe, 2 or 3 invitations. Today, at the conclusion of the committee's meeting, it was widely reported by the media that the committee has declared Domiko-Abenya, the seat that Adwoa Safo occupies, as vacant, and therefore they're going to write to the clerk of Parliament, who will then write to the Electoral Commission, which is the regulation. That's the procedural regulation. That's what has to be done for Ghanaians to be told that the seat is vacant, and then an election is called maybe a month or 2 after the declaration of the vacancy of the seat. Parliament are however not united in the understanding that Domiko-Abenya seat is vacant. The National Democratic Congress, the minority in Parliament, is insisting that you need to hear from Adwoa Safo first. The fact that she has not been able to attend our meetings, it doesn't mean that you can declare the seat vacant. Now, this is NDC people who are, of course, in opposition to Adwoa Safo, who are insisting that you cannot take her out of Parliament. I mean, one would have thought that they will be insisting that the rules have been breached and that the majority should follow the rules. But they are saying that you cannot take Adwoa Safo from Parliament until you've heard from her. The majority on the other side, who is Adwoa Safo's people, they are MPP people, they are saying that the seat is vacant because she's not there. I'm going to show you why, in terms of mathematical calculation and political fortunes, why that is important to the NDC and why the other argument is very, very important to the MPP. So here's our friend Adwoa Safo in your shot there. Okay, let's get the next photograph. And then, so this is what I'm looking for. So this is the situation of Domiko-Abenya at the end of close of poll and the announcement of poll in election 2020. Adwoa Safo polled 75,041, representing 58.35 of the votes in Domiko-Abenya. Okay, Faustina Eill Akurugu polls 52,262, representing 40.64% of the vote. In a parliamentary contest where one candidate, like Adwoa Safo did, is securing 58%, you will call that a landslide victory, and you will indeed call that a safe seat. But keep your eye on this one, and then let's move to the next photograph, which shows the presidential results. Keep your eye on Adwoa Safo, 75,041, representing 58%. And now here's the presidential results. Okay, AKUFO-ADDO, the MPP's candidate for 2020, polls 78,464, polling 60% of the votes, doing slightly better than Adwoa Safo, the Member of Parliament. And then over here, President John Dramani Mahama polls 50,136, representing 38.71 share of the vote. So that's the situation in Domiko-Abenya constituency right now. Now, Parliament has 137 National Democratic Congress elected and 137 New Patriotic Party elected. Then there's an independent candidate who has decided to sort of do business with the MPP, and so they call them the majority group. So you cannot call the MPP the majority party. No, you can't. You cannot call them the majority party. You can call them the majority group. Okay. Now, the numbers machinations in Parliament now look like Adwoa Safo doesn't show up in Parliament. She doesn't come. So all the time, the 137 for the MPP should be thought of as a 136 plus the Formina guy, the independent. That makes them 137. Whereas NDC is 137. So the New Patriotic Party and the government have been very interested in the court case about Quayson, who is Member of Parliament for Asin North, whose seat has now been sort of taken from him with an injunction, and a by-election is being prepared. So with Quayson out, then you're going to have 136 and 136. Quayson out, Adwoa Safo out, 136, 136. And then you're going to have the independent MPP still get +1 vote, even when they should have been getting +2. So that's the argument. Okay. Now let's go to the next photograph and let me show viewers what I'm talking about. Now, this is the game changer. This man here is the game changer. the Mike Okwe Jr., who is the chief executive of the Free Zones Board, is the game changer. So if an election, a by-election were to occur in Domiko-Abenya today, Mike Okwe Jr. will be the obvious candidate of the New Patriotic Party. Of course, she was a candidate defeated by Adwoa Safo in the last election, and he's been around for a while, and everyone in the MPP seems to be regretting now even more the defeat of Professor Mike Okwe, the unexpected defeat of Professor Mike Okwe at dawn on 7 January 2001 when the parliament went BSEC and the vote went in favor of the NDC candidate Alban Sumanu Kingsford Bagbin, who is right now the Right Honorable Speaker of the Parliament, of the 8th Parliament. So Mike Okwe Jr. is poised to pick up the seat. Now, if he goes and wins, and he's going to win, that's why I showed you the figures first, the MPP candidate most likely is going to win the Domiko-Abenya seat. If he wins, he will be present in Parliament. Everyone knows that today he's present. He's been present forever. Of course, he's Ghana's former ambassador to India, Ghana's former High Commissioner to India, I should say. So the MPP, the NDC is concerned that if you allow this by-election in Domiko-Abenya to happen, and it's going to happen before the budget of November. Now, Kenneth Fuata is going to read the 2023 budget in November. It's a big make or break budget for the New Patriotic Party going into the election of 2024, and they will need the numbers to pass the budget. So they are thinking, should we continue to wait for Adwoa Safo to come? Why don't you just do a by-election and have Michael Okwe come, so we know that we have 137? And there's a question cannot go to Parliament right now until the by-election, and he may be disqualified from participating in the by-election. And people is thinking, we just might pick up that one as well, because that's also very close. I have the figures for Quayson. I don't know if you have it. Can you please put it up? The Asin North figures and Mr. Quayson. No, I don't. So this is Adwoa Safo and Michael Okwe Jr. So Adwoa Safo out, Michael Okwe Jr. in is what the NDC is hoping they can push away for a very long time so that it doesn't happen. Because if that happens, then the MPP have the full complement of the 137. In fact, people have even mooted other ideas that the seat in Formina, which is occupied by the second deputy speaker, in his capacity as an independent candidate, he should resign from Parliament, occasion a by-election, and then he should run as the MPP candidate and then win the by-election, so that MPP can truly have 138 New Patriotic Party members in Parliament other than 137 and an independent candidate. So keep an eye on that, and we're also keeping an eye on the conversations in the. We're also keeping an eye in the conversations in Parliament. Now, this is the Asin North analysis. I'll get the parliamentary as well. I hope they have that too. But this is the presidential analysis, and see how it turned out. In Asin North, where the NDC candidate, Mr. Quayson, won the parliamentary elections, this is how the presidential election looked. Nana Addo AKUFO-ADDO picked 16,067 votes, representing 50% of the vote, and John Dramani Mahama picked close like that, about 1,000 difference, 15,014, representing 47.48% of the vote. So the MPP actually won the presidential election in Asin North, and they are hopeful that if you want to run another election in the parliamentary without Quayson having been disqualified from the race, MPP think they have a reasonable chance, it's been a by-election, for them to pick up that seat as well, so that they will now be counting 138 New Patriotic Party seats. All of that is being prepared towards the approval of the November budget of 2023. So here you go. This is how it turned out. Quayson was quite popular. So he picked up 17,000 and got 55% of the vote. And here is Abena Drowa Mensa, who got 14,193, 44% of the vote. This brings up another conversation that we'll have another time. Why should some constituencies be so big and some so small? Really, it's unfair, isn't it? Because here is the lady who lost to Adwoa Safo. She picked up 50,000 votes, 50,000. She's not in Parliament. Quayson got 17,000 and is in Parliament. So 50,000 Ghanaians voted for an individual. She's not in Parliament. 17,000 Ghanaians vote for another individual, and he's in Parliament. And one is Accra, one is Central Region. Really, we have to have a conversation about this, and that happens all the time. And I always say, may he rest in peace, Josiah Eill was the first person who made the argument on Good Evening Ghana sometime in 2005, and he told me that he pulled 35,000 in Dansoman constituency and he's not in parliament. And Ameletego won the seat with 45,000. He got 35,000. And guess what? The example he used was John Dramani Mahama. He said John Mahama pulled 7,000 in Bole Bamboy. He's a member of parliament. I got 35,000. I'm not a member of parliament. And we have to have a conversation about that. In England and other places, it's 100,000 per constituency. If you say that in Ghana now, there will be a fight. I'll tell you about why there will be a fight later on. But this is the situation, and that is why the NDC is saying that leave Adwoa Safo alone, leave her in parliament, you cannot take her out. And the MPP is saying, hey, it's time. Privileges Committee has declared the seat vacant. Let's go and fight. So keep an eye on that one, and let's see how it happens. Just a bit of political information for you as we looked at it.